You are accosted by a man the instant you set foot in the village. "Medicine, please," he begs. His eyes are glazed over, and his general demeanor unsettling. Should he really have medicine? You give him a glimpse of the medicine. "Nothing in this life is free," you sneer. Your callousness is swiftly punished as the medicine slips from your grasp and clatters to the ground. The man runs off to who knows where, making noises that can only be described as inhuman. You and the party resolve to continue exploring the village, despite the unsettling encounter that just occurred. Something is askew in this village. It would be best to proceed with caution until you can determine what is happening. Another villager approaches you. Though his speech is slurred, the demand remains the same: medicine. This villager is also behaving strangely. Will you acquiesce to his request? You remove the medicine from your pack, recall for a moment how much it cost, and begin sliding it back into place. In the blink of an eye, the villager snatches up the medicine bottle and darts out of view. Something's not right in this village, Bruno mutters, clearly worried. You hear a panicked cry up the road. "Stay with me. Focus on me." That can't be good. You arrive on the scene to find a man collapsed in the street, convulsing. Another man kneels over him in an apparent attempt to provide comfort and care. The nobleman wears impressive white armor befitting a knight. He continues talking to the fallen man as he provides emergency care. Seeing the knight's devotion makes you feel a bit like a putz for doing nothing. You ask Bruno to provide some of his custom supplement. He furrows his brow and solemnly shakes his head. The villager is now clawing at his own face with his fingernails, crying out for medicine. Blood, as black as tar, begins oozing out of his eyes, ears, and mouth. It proceeds to leak from every orifice imaginable. The convulsions subside. Within moments, the villager lies still. A horrific thought makes itself known. This is the first time you have witnessed the death of a fellow man. Even in a world where medicines and elixirs can cure most any ailment, none are safe from death's icy grip. And as well you know, that which is dead can never return. Your mind goes blank. You drop to your knees in shock. Melanie clamps her hand to her mouth, stifling a scream. Riddis shakes uncontrollably. The knight hangs his head. Bruno nervously asks, "What are you doing here?" The knight's name is Sherwin. He identifies himself as a member of the Ivory Order. His travels brought him to this village, where he has been caring for the ailing residents. His face contorts in disgust. If not for these foul drugs, they would be healed. He spits and takes his leave. Bruno gazes upon the villager's corpse with a look of apparent realization. You approach Sherwin, who was caring for another villager. Is every day like this? You inquire. According to the knight, an elderly man living just outside the village is typically the one who looks after its residents. You'd be best served asking him all your questions, Sherwin says as he returns to his patient. The old man sighs, saying he lost both his son and grandson to the medicine. Not wanting to be the only one left behind, he lifts the bottle in his hand to his lips and gulps it down. You ask the villager about the dragon. The headman can help you if you're in some trouble, she retorts, doubling over to empty the contents of her stomach onto the street. Dozens of empty medicine bottles litter the ground in front of this woman. There isn't a soul about. The house is surely abandoned. You must fancy yourself quite the eccentric coming here, the innkeeper drones, as if incensed by your very presence. Stay if you want to stay, the innkeeper continues, utterly disinterested in even attempting to sell you on a room. This cursed island is separated from the rest of the world, she mutters from the ground. I heard that outsiders call this place Mount Medica, she remarks, then throws the empty bottle in her hand to the roadside. You hail the villager, only to receive a blunt, "Go bother the village headman with your chatter," in return. The villager turns to face the wall once more and smacks his head against it repeatedly. His forehead is soon covered in blood. You had best get out of here quick, she cautions you. If you stay here, then you too will, she begins, then suddenly starts cackling. A man approaches you as you wander through the village. Spare a bit of medicine, he asks genially. He sets about convincing you that your kindness will be returned tenfold if you just give him a little from your pack. His silver tongue would put even the best salesman to shame. You reach for a bottle of medicine, completely taken in by his pitch. Bruno stills your hand. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I really shouldn't, you yelp over your shoulder, already walking away at a brisk pace. You continue wandering the village streets, only to be accosted by the man once more. It seems he will follow you to the ends of the earth. Why do you want it so badly, you ask, affording him another opening. He gladly takes it. He first came in contact with it as a child.
His parents paid him no mind.
And never since forgot its wonderful taste. You are fully invested in this story, and desperate to give the man some small comfort in this cruel, cruel world. You're primed and ready to hand it over. I've heard better sob stories, Melanie says dryly, having somehow absorbed the man's story, despite the blistering speed in which he delivered it. Bruno thinks you'd better not, but you're not so sure. You heed Bruno's warning and return the medicine to your pack. The man's shoulders droop and he shuffles off out of sight. He appears to have dropped something peculiar in his haste. You knock lightly on the door. An elderly man opens it, beaming at you. He announces himself as Selfor and beckons you inside. Might he be the headman you've heard so much about? Ask me anything you like, he offers. Selfor receives your party, for whatever reason, rather graciously. He could well be a font of knowledge. What will you ask him? You make mention of the village's eccentricities. Selfor informs you that the island indeed suffers from an extreme shortage of medicine. He apologizes for the villagers' incivility. Consider it the price to pay for making the world a better place, he adds nonsensically. You ask if he has seen the dragon. Why, yes, he says. He returned to this island just the other day. Oh, but don't worry, he continues. He hasn't caused us too much trouble. Needless to say, this does not comport with your understanding of the dragon. You notice Melanie lift an eyebrow at his use of the word returned. At any rate, the dragon's presence on the island is confirmed. You quietly celebrate the first credible lead you've yet received. You ask if he is the one in charge of the village. It's true that the villagers call him their headman, but I feel compelled to correct the record and state that my official title is overseer. Your questions satisfactorily answered. You thank Selfor and turn to leave. He asks you to stop. We have yet to discuss the terms of your living here, he declares. You explain that you are only here to pursue the dragon and have no intention to stay. Selfor begs your forgiveness for thinking you were newcomers. It's perfectly understandable, though, what with the non-match among you, he says with a sneer. What does he mean by that? Melanie asks you, unable to grasp the old man's intentions. For reasons unknown, you feel the blood drain from your face. Your breathing grows ragged and you break out in a sweat. We're done here, you say defiantly, as you storm out of the house. Mar runs after you, chirping frantically. Melanie and the others give chase, but you and Mar are well out of sight by the time they make it outside. The two can't have gone far, though. it may be best to first search the village. We have to find the others first, Melanie insists. The woman claims a silly man skipped by right in front of her. Melanie and company find you standing in front of a house. She can't quite make it out, but it sounds as though you're saying to Mar, "This place is..." Melanie calls out to you, prompting you to blurt out, "Sorry, just had a bad stomachache back there," in your characteristically glib manner. She surveys you both and sees two haggard travelers unwilling to admit they're in need. "Are you sure you're all right?" she asks, concerned. "Fine, absolutely fine," you tell her, perhaps too eagerly. "So you were worried about me," you shoot back. "No, I wasn't," she replies, her face reddening. You spot a familiar-looking mage on the village streets. Winifred takes no notice of you and ducks into the apothecary. "So, the Ivory Order buys their medicine just like everybody else," you muse to yourself as you prick up your ears and listen carefully. Winifred and the apothecary speak in hushed tones. You'd guess it's an order for special medicine, but you can't make it out. Alas, she's just buying the usual stuff. Nothing remotely interesting about that. Though her presence suggests that other members of the order might also be in town. With no desire to run into them, you make yourself scarce before she catches sight of you. You spy the very people you were hoping to avoid, gathered near the village gate. "The last thing we need is a confrontation," you mutter, spying them from the shadows. "Why are we always hiding?" Melanie hisses under her breath. Two members of the Order are speaking with Sherwin. Given how deferential they appear to be acting toward him, you hazard a guess that he's their superior. "Have you determined the dragon's location?" Sherwin asks. Hedwin launches into his report. "The dragon appears to be occupying the volcano. I suggest we move to capture him immediately," he counsels. Now who should appear but Winifred, fresh from her shopping excursion. "Preparations for our journey into the volcano are complete," she reports, handing Sherwin a bottle of something. "Splendid." Sherwin walks off and out of sight, the other three following close behind. Lucky for you, your hastily improvised hiding spot afforded you valuable information on the dragon. Yet their conversation raised as many questions as it answered. There was talk of capturing the dragon. Melanie picked up on the incongruity as well. The queen ordered the dragon killed, she reminds you. The medicine bottle Sherwin received is probably related to their journey into the volcano somehow. Bruno recalls seeing a bottle much like it once before. He says it contains flash freeze, which can chill most anything. Maybe that's what Winifred bought at the apothecary, Bruno continues. You know that the dragon is lurking in the volcano, but can't for the life of you recall how to get there from here. Isn't it that mountain with all the smoke pouring out of it? Riddis asks, pointing westward. Why, yes, that sure does look rather like a volcano. You narrow your eyes. You three have no right being this helpful, you think? Mar pinches your cheeks without warning. You yelp in pain, which at the very least crosses dreaming off the list of explanations. Returning to the matter at hand, it's clear what must be done. You'll have to get your hands on some flash freeze if you hope to enter the volcano. The man glares at you, clutching tight to countless medicine bottles in his hands. He insists that they all belong to him and refuses to share them with anyone. Happen to have any flash freeze for sale? You cheerily ask the apothecary. She flashes a wry smile. How do you steady the roiling magma's flow? She asks cryptically. The meaning behind the question is utterly lost on you. She needs a password, Melanie mutters over your shoulder. The answer, then, would be the password. So, how do you steady the roiling magma's flow? The old woman rolls her eyes, suddenly looking defeated. How did you know the answer? Did someone tell you? She mutters bitterly. You've managed to crack the code, and a bottle of flash freeze is yours. At last, you are ready to enter the volcano. You've got a long road ahead of you, so you had best be prepared. Don't hold back. Large boulders block the path before you. Alas, you must turn back. Looks like it's too early to come this way. The heat of the volcano engulfs you the moment you set foot inside. Of course, the dragon is hiding out here. Guess it's as good a place as any to corner him, you reason with yourself, trying to keep your spirits up. Crossing this river of lava won't be easy. Here's how you cross a lava river. Bam! You open the bottle of flash freeze and pour some into the raging river of lava. The lava instantly hardens, forming a bridge of rock.